Hey there, folks. Glenn here. Another week, time for another voiceover vlog. So you may notice this week that I am not recording it on my phone. That's because I figured that, since I have a microphone, since I have a webcam on my computer, I may as well just hook that up and go from there. And it's a little bit, easier to work with and get set up. So, and I really don't know anything about I don't know anything about video editing. So what I actually am working with right now is like an old copy of Windows Movie Maker, circa like, Windows XP, like 2011, 2012 Windows Movie Maker. So I found it on a website somewhere when I was looking to just put some very basic videos together. And I mean, it was free and it works for me. So for as long as I'm doing this kind of stuff, I think that works for me. So yeah, thinking about last week. Last week was a very busy and eventful week for me. So probably as far as just straight up voiceover work goes, the busiest voiceover work week of my life so far. I've had weeks where I've, done more stuff than I did last week, but as far as like, just voiceover work that ends up paying me, this has been the busiest week. And I mean, pretty much all of it came from audiobooks. And that's where I've been really sort of driving my energies lately, trying to get just initial work, like doing books for that end up on websites like Audible and Amazon and iTunes. It's just been a really great way to sort of, get my foot in the door and start getting some work and experience without needing a whole lot of experience to get there. I mean, you can get some pretty decent work out there without having a whole lot of background going into it. So, yeah, this week I ended up finishing actually 3 audiobooks, which about half of the books that I've done so far, what I did last week. So one of them was really short, it was like 1,000 words, finished that up in a day. One of them I got the offer for end of last week, so I finished that up on like Friday and Saturday, got that all edited together. And then another one, which was the longest and most profitable book I've done so far, was probably the lion's share of the work that I ended up doing last week as far as recording and editing that. So, and actually the author of that book liked my work on this one so much, they ended up giving him a new offer for another audiobook he was working on today. So then that's probably going to be what I'm spending the rest of my week on. And this one, is even longer, so even more higher paying. So, it's nice to get that validation whenever, you do work for a client and then they decide they like you enough that they give you more work to do. So yeah, that's feeling pretty happy with that. And one thing about audiobooks, which I think a lot of people don't realize, is just how much work it takes to go into how much work goes into an audiobook and how much work it takes to produce the end product. They say for about every hour of finished audio in an audiobook, there's between like maybe 4 to 5 hours of work that goes into it. So, like for me, when I get the manuscript, I have to read through it, obviously, because I want to know what the book is talking about. And I might read through it once or twice, and I got to go through and, highlight words that I either don't know how to pronounce or don't know the meaning of. Same thing with names and stuff as well. And I might go through and like insert like little notes for myself or little breathing marks if there's a really long sentence, so I know where I can take a break. Then there's the recording process itself, obviously, and if you have to read the entire book aloud, and oftentimes you'll fudge up, you'll misspeak a word or have to do a different take of a sentence because you didn't like the first way that you read it. And then the bulk of the work comes in the after process, after it's been recorded, of going back and editing things, making sure the volume levels are all right, how they got to be, cutting out breaths, cutting out pops and clicks, that from mouth noise that you generate. And that's a very time-consuming process. So, yeah, by the end of the day, about every hour of finished audio is about 4 or 5 hours of work that you don't hear about. So I'd actually thought about taking a break from audiobooks for a while after I got these books done, just because it was taking so much time. But then, this morning I get this new audiobook offer for, what will be the most profitable book that I've done so far. And I mean, at this point in my career, I'm just really not in a place where I can be turning down work that comes to my door so willingly. So diving back in with that, but hopefully getting some other work done as well. So yeah, audiobooks, been a great way to start. Another thing I wanted to talk about, so marketing, has also been a huge focus of my business. So I think a lot of people think, when they go into voiceover or when they hear about voiceover, I mean, you think about the voice part of it, the voice, the performance, the getting behind the microphone and recording a character, recording a script and stuff. But so much of it is also the business aspect of it. I mean, there's the art, there's the performance acting side, and then there's, the part where you have to actually, like manage the logistics of what you're doing and, maintain clients and market yourself to them. So obviously that's, a huge part of what I'm spending my weeks focusing on now. So, yeah, I mean, you can be like, the greatest voiceover talent in the world and, just be Don LaFontaine or somebody. But if people out there don't know who you are and don't know what you can do, you're never going to get work in this industry. So that's been a big part of my focus as well. And I mean, that's a lot of like, getting on social media platforms, sending out emails, just finding all sorts of different ways to, go where the fish are and reach out to potential clients and see people who need your services. So fortunately for voiceover, like if you think about it, really just about every company in every industry can use voiceover to some degree. So that's pretty cool. So, I mean, just about any company, I mean, they need, means for advertising. Oh, I just got a text on my phone. Oh, got Bluetooth synced up with my watch and I just got a notification. Anyway, sorry, getting distracted. Yeah, I mean, you can do voiceover for just about any company out there because just about any company is going to need voiceover either for advertising, TV or radio, or on their website, or maybe getting their phone system set up, or even for educational training materials within the company. So yeah, a lot of work to be found out there, and just a matter of going to the right people who will be willing to hire you for that work. So another thing, I've been working on redoing my logo and putting together business cards and stuff. And I've got a friend I met in a voice acting class that I did online a couple months ago. And he's just great. I mean, he's a 16-year-old kid, but he just really has an eye for color and detail, and he's a very simplistic sort of approach to things. And he agreed to actually end up doing like my logo and my business cards for free just because he's a cool dude and he wants to be a friend. So that was awesome. So this week I'm going to be, get my business cards ordered and working on, re-putting up my new logo and stuff and all my different websites, social platforms and whatnot. And actually, I just had a Discord session with him today. So because he agreed to do that for free for me, I thought I'd be a friend and teach him a little bit about Twitter, because that's a big platform that I end up using a lot, and teach him a little bit about what I use to get followers, to get noticed, to start building impressions and whatnot. So yeah, so a lot of work as well going on, with my branding and marketing side of things. And when I first struck out to do this business, I wasn't sure how much I would enjoy that aspect of it, but I really do love the business side of voiceover as well as, the performance acting side of it. I mean, it's fun, just taking something and cultivating it and then trying to, make it trying to grow, start this business and grow this thing. And, you're attracting new clients and, you're tracking your metrics about, how many impressions your tweets are getting, how many views your YouTube videos are getting, how many hits your website's getting and stuff, and watching this grow and watching, going through the process of experimenting with different things, seeing, what kind of different things attract people's eyes and what are good times to, tweet or send out emails and whatnot. And so I've been really enjoying that whole process of the thing as well. So yeah, and that's, another huge component of this whole business. I mean, it is a business at the end of the day. I mean, you can't just rely on your sheer talent and hope that, a bunch of agents are going to hook you up with work for the rest of your life. You got to roll up your sleeves and do a lot of that stuff yourself. And now one more thing I was thinking about last week is a bit more on a personal note. So I've always kind of, ever since I was a kid, I've always felt like I was a little bit different in a way. I literally know nobody else from school, high school or college, who's doing what I'm doing right now. And as growing up, I was always a social kid. I have friends. I've got good friends. I know how to interact in a social environment, but I don't know, just growing up and even somewhat today, I've just always felt like I never really fit into any, particular clique or any, group of people. It always felt I just had a hard time finding where my place in the group was. And I think I was struggling with that a little bit last week and stuff. And, sometimes, working by yourself, you're not getting a whole lot of, direct human interaction and stuff. And you have time to, sort of ponder your thoughts and whatnot. And that can't always be healthy. So try to get out more. But yeah, I mean, I was just working through some of that stuff, just some of the loneliness and, just wondering okay, what am I doing here? How do I fit into this whole mess and stuff? And after thinking about it for a couple days, and this is a lesson this is a process I go through and lessons I've had to come across a number of times, but at the end of the day, going back to the classic lesson of just, just being yourself. I mean, you were made with a certain way, with certain gifts and passions and certain things that make you feel fulfilled when you do that, can't just be flatly applied to any other people or any other group of people. At the end of the day, if you want to have a happy, fulfilling life, you've got to do you and be true to you. And I mean, I took it a step farther. Obviously, be yourself. And even now, if I feel like I'm not fitting in with a group well, I feel good about myself. I mean, I've got an awesome life. I love what I do. I love the stuff that I'm passionate about. But so really, to me, it was more than just about being myself. It was also about being myself boldly and confidently. So not just doing the things that you love, but doing the things you love without being self-conscious about it. For me, doing this business, building my clients, doing the things that I love, being passionate about it, without trying to bend to, meet some other group's expectation of what I should be doing, or my sense of what the group's expectation of what I should be doing is. So yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, that's just sort of what life is. I mean, I think everybody at some point has, felt a little bit out of place or sort of wondering, where am I going with this thing? What is this all for? So that's just a lesson that you got to remind yourself about time and time again and keep going back to when the times get rough. But I mean, ultimately, I'm incredibly blessed to be where I'm at right now. I have an awesome job. It just, this thing, I've been an adult for 10 years now. And I think, for the first time in the last 6 months, I've really sort of settled into what I think, God really put me on this planet for, and stuff that really aligns my gifts with my passions, with things that I can make money doing. And I get to make my own hours. I get to do what I love. I get to, choose my own clients. And it's just an awesome thing. So, I mean, really, at the end of the day, I've got my struggles like any other person does, but really, I've got nothing legitimate to complain about. So, life is good. All right, well, that's about all I wanted to share this time. A little bit longer than last week's vlog, but yeah, probably do this again next week. So, till then, take care and God bless.